Girls behave. Yeah.
That's eggs, right?
Welcome. That's all you guys have. I thought St. Louis was, you know, better than Chicago. I'm starting to wonder now. You're from where?
Wichita. You gotta say Wichita because people usually have heard of Wichita. I'm from Goddard, Kansas.
So coming to St. Louis is a big move for you.
My eyes were open to the world of toasted raviolis.
Great. I think there's more here than that. Okay, we can see one screen up here, right?
Hey, you guys just flip those.
If you guys want to flip back a little, flip the monitors, whatever you're comfortable.
Good job, Steve.
Yes.
Your job is keep an eye on everything on that stove. Anything goes wrong, I blame you. Learn now. That's what sous chefs and cooks are for. That's why chefs never get in trouble. Just blame their staff. These guys have been blaming you for everything I said wrong today. And I've defended you though. I'm right there. You got your taser, right? You all set? Anybody gets out of control, officer.
No, to the MG.
Okay. We're talking today about food. How many still think classical cuisine's alive and well? No need to lie. Yeah. You think it's chef you're old, you got your master's in 96, and classical cuisine like you. Feel free.
How many chefs does it take?
Yeah. You know, you got to figure it out. How many have this book? One.
If I raise my hand,
You would be lying. So only one has le repertoire.
Check F2.
I'm gonna have this one. Wow. You don't count. You're supposed to. In fact, the ones who didn't raise their hand, drop it. So only a few of you have this one. Wow, I didn't even bring my original because that's really good. Huh? I'm totally those students were a little nicer. She's in enough hot water already. You haven't gotten hot water yet. Just keep an eye on the eggs. Just turn them around once in a while, make sure they don't overcook. So you guys like cool food, huh? You like all that cool stuff going on today? Sous vide, slow tubes, and all that nonsense, huh? Hey, we're going to show you today and talk a bit about how we get there, though, because sabotage. Does everybody at least know who Scarfier was?
Yes, chef.
Is it his cuisine? Is he responsible for the French classical dominance? And I'm going to show you later on the French really didn't do all this by themselves. They had a lot of help from Italians. They hate to admit it, it kills them, but we are responsible for their renaissance of food. So Scarfier played a huge part. And that was his partner, Caesar Ritz. Both of them extremely successful. Both of them doing things that maybe should have been done. Like, you know, send food to one hotel and have the hotel pay for it. They were the reasons why purchasing agents were developed and food and beverage directors. Keep an eye on the chefs. So they had a very interesting life. He died broke, not a penny to his name. So his famous as he was, and all he accomplished, and all he is still today to talk about. He died actually lonely and not a dime. So it's kind of sad. He's definitely responsible for the original book. Is called The Guide, and that one I just didn't bring with me, but it's not quite made of stone. But it's about this size, 3 times the thickness. And if you have the original one, they're either leather or depending which one you have. But those were the original books that came out. And they're really not cookbooks. This one is a little more of a cookbook. It was really more of insight of philosophy and then just basically how food went together and some basic guidelines. So you still know how to cook in order to use this book. But before then, there was a man called Marie-Antoine Carême. Carême is considered, even by Escoffier, to be the finest chef there was. Now, if you look closely at that slide, one of the things he said that fine arts are 5 in number: painting, sculpture, poetry, music, and architect. The principal branch of the latter being pastry. He was a very smart individual, very talented, an architect, knew how to design things. How many know what a piecemonte is? Really?
Well, they're blaming us.
Talk about this.
Okay. Piecemonte is basically was the highlight, the centerpiece, the dominance of the buffet. And done in pastry, but mostly at that time. It could have been ice sculptures, salt dough sculptures, tallow sculptures. But the main architect behind most of the centerpieces were incredible buffets. You see there is a croquet bush, the pedestals made out of sugar, everything pasteurized. So a lot of design in those days, a lot of, whether it's chocolate work, rolled sugar, really was the centerpiece. And that was part of his philosophy, is that food should be stunning, there should be this wow factor when you walk into a room. And that was the day of the grand buffets. In the old days of competitions, especially down in New York, the Société Philanthropique, which really held, but they didn't really call it a competition, it was a display of culinary arts. Hotels in those days really did the grand buffet. It was everything from pastry to baking, breads, to everything that would go on in the property would be displayed, and of course done at a very high level. So what is classical cuisine? It's nothing more than the collective technique, recipes, and dishes which you are learning, studying, reading in your books, that after the test of time are worthy of repetition and are recognizable when asked for by name. Evidently a lot less recognizable these days, but back in time, that's how food was discussed. There really wasn't Asian infusion, there wasn't a lot of Mediterranean, there wasn't a lot of American names. So really the French cuisine, French names, the kitchen was French. And it spoke French, worked French. It was a very classical kitchen. What's important to know is if you did not know where you came from, how do you decide your direction? And I do relate today that, a lot of people don't have these books anymore. A lot of people don't read this. A lot of people don't study. And there's not a lot of restaurants anymore that are based on classical cuisine. It's modern, it's infusion, it's all the technology that has entered kitchens. But realize that without the understanding of this, really none of what we see now happens. And some of the greatest chefs, even Boulay, who probably has some reputation from Spain as being the top chef in the world right now, studied classical food, cooked 20 plus years in the industry at a very high level, through Spain, through Europe, cooking, understanding the 5 other sauces and how to make them. A lot of chefs today, even though they may be doing some things that are getting publicity, don't know that stuff. And that's why he was enabled to take food to such a different level. And taking the luxury of closing, having this workshop or lab, whatever people want to call it, his kitchen laboratory, but taking time to study everything he developed, whether it was how to get a shrimp cocktail into a mister and all those cool things that are done, all came from his classical background. Because he had such an understanding of flavors, how food worked, how science worked. Many people don't study the science of food. What's a good book for science, Chef? Harold McGee. How many read Harold McGee? The same amount that studied the stuff. Yeah. We're consistent. We have consistency going. But if you take time with these books and that book, because